Hi everybody, today we're going to calculate the energy stored in an inductor. Our problem says a 250 microhenry inductor is connected to a source such that the current at time t is 22 e to the negative 2t milliamps where t is in seconds. We're going to round all of our answers to integers and we'll give the units in picojoules. We'll calculate the energy stored at two different times. We'll start at time equals 0. Our inductance was given as 250 microhenries. Let's change that from microhenries to henries by writing it as 250 times 10 to the negative 6 henries. Next, we'll find our current at time equals 0. That means we'll plug in 0 into the equation for current. We have 22 e to the negative 2 times 0 milliamps. We know negative 2 times 0 is 0, e to the 0 is 1, 1 times 22 is just 22. Let's also change milliamps into amps, which means we have 22 times 10 to the negative 3 amps. Now we can put these all together to find the energy. Our equation for the energy stored in an inductor is 1/2 the inductance times the current squared, which means our energy is 1/2 215 times 10 to the negative 6 henries times 22 times 10 to the negative 3 amps squared. We'll do it the long way the first time, and then we'll talk about shortcuts in our second example. I can leave the 1/2, the 250 times 10 to the negative 6. When I square 22, I get 484. When I square 10 to the negative 3, I just multiply 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6. Here's where we should stop and talk about the units. An amp square times a henry is a joule. Then, if we multiply 1/2 times 250 times 484, we get 60,500. 10 to the negative 6 times 10 to the negative 6 is 10 to the negative 12. We can replace 10 to the negative 12 with a prefix of p to stand for pico, which tells us the energy at time 0 is 60,500 picojoules. Let's do that one more time, but let's change the time to 200 milliseconds. We know 200 milliseconds is equal to 0.2 seconds. We just divide by 1,000. We'll keep our inductance of 250 times 10 to the negative 6 henries. Now we need to find our energy when t is 0.2. This gives us 22 e to the negative 2 times 0.2 milliamps, which is 14.747 times 10 to the negative 3 amps. The 14.747 comes from putting 22 e to the negative 2 times 0.2 in your calculator. We'll take these values for the inductance and current and put it into our formula for energy. We have 1/2 times 250 times 10 to the negative 6 henries times 17.47 times 10 to the negative 3 amps squared. In our first example, we said a henry times amp squared is a joule, and when we multiply 10 to the negative 6 times 10 to the negative 3 squared, we'll get 10 to the negative 12, which is a pico. This lets us skip right to a picojoule as our unit. We can concentrate on multiplying 1/2 times 250 times 14.747 squared. Putting that in the calculator gives us 27,184.25 picojoules, but remember it said round to the nearest integer, so we would write that as 27,814 picojoules.